All right, everyone. Welcome. We're going to go ahead and kick things off here. So glad to have you all here. We have a really special event for you today with 8 fantastic speakers lined up to talk about transparency in the workplace. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, just a quick introduction for me. I'm Alex. I'm the community manager of the People Ops community here at Charthop, and I will be your MC today. Alongside me, we have a few folks from the Charthop team who will also be moderating the chat. If you were here for our last session, we got a really great active chat, so would encourage you to post and kind of join the conversation in there. So some logistics up front. Here's what to expect out of this event. We have 8 speakers coming in to chat about all aspects of transparency in the workplace. One of them is affiliated with Charthop as an advisor, and she will be starting our talks today. But the rest of our speakers are experts in their own ways and represent their own opinions. I think one of the cool things here is that you will probably hear a lot of different opinions. Some might actually conflict with each other, and I hope they do. I think many of the things we're talking about today don't have clear answers, so we're excited to use this space to kick off those discussions. Lastly, a few logistical items. If you're just joining now, request that you kind of shift your view to the speaker view. I think you'll get the best experience from that. We're rotating through a lot of speakers here. There's no official Q&A as kind of part of this format, but we will have discussions in the chat, and our speakers today have been encouraged to jump in and stay on after their talks to answer any questions you might have there, share their contact info for further discussion. Lastly, this is going to be a recorded session, so everyone who is invited to this event will get a recording emailed to them. It's likely going to be early next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday, but we can go ahead and get started from there. Lastly, I want to shout out our sponsor of today's event, Charthop, which is where I work, newly reintroduced last week at Transform Conference as the People Ops platform. Charthop cares deeply about open conversations in the People Ops space, and is kind enough to offer this platform to chat about People Ops topics like this. Charthop unifies your organization's people, data, and operations into one platform where people and finance teams, execs, managers can implement initiatives like headcount and comp planning, reporting, and performance reviews. At the same time, employees can access your org chart, employee directory, and employee data to get the most information they need to feel connected and engaged. At Charthop, our mission is to create healthy transparency within organizations so that employees and organizations thrive. I think it's a pretty perfect fit for our talk today. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker to talk a little bit more about how Charthop empowers transparency. So I will pass it over. Please welcome Shelby Wolpa, former VP of People Ops at Envision, and now People Advisor and Consultant, to talk about transparent org charts. Shelby, over to you.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Happy to be kicking things off today. So one thing I've learned over the years working with globally distributed teams is that having an easy way to discover and learn about your team members is critical. Knowing who to connect with, where they sit in the organization, and what they're responsible for is helpful context to get an understanding of who people are and how your company operates. Did you know that employees spend on average 9 hours per week searching for information? 9 hours per week. This stat is wild to me. Think about how expensive that is when added up across your entire organization. Having data live in disparate spreadsheets is a way of the past. Also, having an org chart that's not integrated into your HRIS makes it immediately out of date and irrelevant. As Alex mentioned, I was an early customer of Charthop, one of the early customers while at Envision, and was such a fan of the product that I'm now an advisor and bring Charthop into many of my globally distributed companies that I work with. Charthop has become table stakes for the people tech stack for globally distributed teams. Whether you need to see team members broken down by department, by team, by cross-functional squad, by location, or even time zone, their org chart has you covered. It's also an easy way to find teammates by role or name, and then seamlessly reach out to them on Slack. So, just to bring this to reality, have you ever been racking your brain sitting at your desk trying to remember the name of the person you need to contact in accounts payable? I know this is true for me. With Charthop, you can just search accounts payable and the 2-person team will pop up, and there he is. You found him. It's Nathan, and you can get your question answered really quickly. People at Envision also geeked out about the world map feature and the timeline, which is showcased here in the image. Getting to see where your team members were located all over the world made it easier for new hires to make connections and folks to meet up when working abroad. Also, getting to use the timeline and see how the organization has grown and shifted and changed over the years is a really cool feature too. And don't get me started on Charthop's other features, such as their talent planning, organizational design, and compensation planning features. We can save that for a whole other talk. So bottom line, transparent org charts help distributed companies easily discover and learn about team members, help people connect, collaborate, and save time by quickly finding who does what and where to go for help. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Shelby. And actually, when we first invited Shelby to speak, we did not ask her to talk about Charthop, but she was very insistent. She's, as she mentioned, a big fan of the product, and wanted to give her that space to kind of talk about, how we actually fit that into the product as well, and transparency. Next up, we have Hiba. Hiba is the Chief People Officer at Workweek and writer of a very popular newsletter, I Hate It Here. And she is here to talk about transparent career paths. Over to you, Hiba.
Thank you. Hi, Alex. Hi, everyone. So excited to be here. One of the things I was thinking about when I was putting together the 60 or 120 seconds I had to talk about this was we are all HR professionals, and we're all thinking about one thing all day long, sometimes, our employees. And so one of the top reasons why employees leave companies is the lack of growth opportunities. And oftentimes there are opportunities, but employees aren't actually aware. And not to mention the possibilities for one's career can feel endless and overwhelming without a plan. But do you know what could fix that? It's transparent career paths. Transparent career paths are the maps for employees to figure out how their careers will grow. Your employees need to see that there's a path forward to help them imagine what their future could be like at your organization. And so look at this map real quick. Imagine you were navigating the galaxy without this map. You would probably get lost, maybe be a little frustrated, and maybe you would quit. Your employees probably feel the same way about their careers and their organizations, a little bit lost without a career path. It's important to note that some companies are honestly afraid to make these career paths transparent because they impact things like compensation, and they don't want to anchor to something that they couldn't possibly change in the future. While it can be scary to do this as a company, make your career paths transparent, you need to, because it's incredibly short-sighted. Your employees have to know that there's a path for them at your organization to continue to feel engaged in the work that they are doing. And my final point is a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you truly care about it and you are committed to DEI, your career paths have to be transparent. Why? Because every employee has to have access to the same opportunities to grow. So without transparent career paths, how can you say that you're really committed to equity?
Thank you so much, Hiba. All right, moving along here. Next, we have Vanessa. Vanessa is VP of People and Culture at PolicyMe, and she's also a true digital nomad, so I encourage you to ask about that. She'll be chatting with us today about transparent employee surveys. Over to you, Vanessa.
Thanks so much for the intro, Alex. Now, the bottom line is that if you collect information from your employees, you should be prepared to share the results because transparency works both ways. One of the best ways to build a positive culture with strong retention is by listening to what your employees have to say. Collecting feedback from our employees helps me figure out where to focus the people and culture team efforts to ensure we're able to maximize our value. So each quarter, I run a survey through the Cultram platform, not sure if you've heard of it, where we gather key insights. That said, the only way for the information to be valuable is if employees are actually sharing honestly. And I've found that this occurs when two things are present. First, the results are communicated to them. And then second, there is a clear action plan to address their needs. If this is not there, there's really no incentive to share meaningfully because there's no accountability on the receiving end of that information. At PolicyMe, we have a monthly town hall, and once a quarter, a focus of this town hall is on survey results. I walk the entire company through how we're doing relative to past quarters and companies like us as a whole. I highlight both our areas of strength and our opportunities for improvement. And we always target at least one area of focus for the next quarter for the people team, directly based on the employee engagement feedback. Now, beyond this, I share insights with our founders and the leadership team on what's going on with each of their teams so they can take specific action as needed. So does this actually work? Honestly, we found immense value in the quarterly process. Participation reached an all-time high of 95% the last time that I ran the survey, and this was the 6th one we've done. Since individuals feel heard, they're inclined to share more. That said, it's super important to reassure employees that their confidentiality will be maintained. So surveys are anonymous, and we share insights of the organization as a whole, not any sub-team, as we're not that big yet. We're 54 employees. So how can you apply it? Although we use Cultram to enable this, an easy way to start was the Google Forms survey. My tips to remember are first, make sure you're asking non-leading questions. Second, that the survey doesn't take more than 10 minutes to complete, and that you can take action on the information you're asking employees to share. So remember, if you collect information from your employees, you really should be prepared to share the results because transparency works both ways. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vanessa. That was a great talk. All right. Next up, we have Kim Colucci. Kim is the Culture and Growth Director at Mixbook, here to talk about transparent culture. Over to you, Kim.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Alex. Hey, everyone. Kim here, Culture and Growth Director at Mixbook. We know that company culture is the heartbeat of our workplace experiences, encompassing both those formal and informal systems, behaviors, and values that shape our professional lives. A transparent culture is like that deep breath of fresh air into our lungs, promoting open communication between leaders and employees, bring clarity to decisions, feedback, and even setbacks and mistakes. Often in a transparent environment, everyone eagerly rolls up their sleeves, is ready to ask questions, offer feedback, challenge decisions, and share ideas. And the business landscape is changing at lightning speed. Companies are navigating the complexities of downsizing, global expansion, remote work, while grappling with these unprecedented challenges like a pandemic, war, and other crises. So now, more than ever, it's time to make the how of working together transparent, to energize employees, spark collaboration, create an environment where they feel safe to think outside the box and take those risks. So how do we create this healthy, transparent culture that's bubbling with creativity and innovation? At Mixbook, we've embraced a model that's both a personality and productivity tool called the 6 Types of Working Genius, seen here. This model outlines 6 interdependent steps or activities that are part of accomplishing any task, big or small. In addition to having a framework of getting from point A to point Z, each step represents a different working strength, and when we fit them all together, we unlock the magic of collaboration. With this shared language and the ability to tap into each other's unique strengths, teams can work together like a dream team, maximizing effectiveness while feeling truly fulfilled. Embracing transparency and cultivating a healthy workplace culture might seem squishy. Prioritizing clear communication over, say, launching a new marketing campaign could feel awkward. And this wasn't always my go-to move either. What I've discovered is that even though I can't map morale, productivity, workplace dynamics on a Gantt chart, a healthy, transparent culture is the ultimate catalyst for you and your team to go further faster. And so if those ideas ignite a spark in you, don't hesitate to reach out. We are all in this together. Find me on LinkedIn. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kim. Awesome. Next, we have Mi Duan Kong. Mi is VP of People at Alt, and also one of the recipients of Charthop's 2nd Annual People Pioneer Awards. Please welcome her up to our in theory stage to talk about transparent interview processes. Mi, over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. So my big point to be made here is that transparent interview processes are the biggest and best sell that you have for attracting the best talent. So here are some of my tips and tricks for increasing transparencies in interviews by stage. So stage 1 is the job description. Before you've even talked to anyone, they look at your job description. Make sure that you have specific comp ranges. Don't put $0 to $1 million. People know if you're not trying. For some states, this is mandatory, but studies have shown us that you are likely to get more candidates if you display your bands. Include links to handbooks, your website, benefits and perks, anything that shows people who you are before they've gotten to talk to you. At stage 2, the recruiter screen, this is a good opportunity to do a clear walkthrough of the expectations of the roles with metrics for success, and a good time to talk through what the interview process will look like and how the decision will be made. You will go through this number of stages. There will be a debrief. The decision makers are these people, and they will base the decision on the following factors. One question we like to ask us at ALT at the recruiter screen is also, what is the offer you will join at? Because we find that opens up a really good conversation. It also stops the conversation if we can't meet the expectations, and we find that to be really transparent. During the interview panels, this is the most important time to be transparent. Don't paint a pretty picture of the company, paint the realities and share the data. I like to say things like, here's what you'll like about working here. Here's where I've seen someone really struggle. Explain if this is, the first time someone's been in the role. If not, how come the last person is gone? Be clear about the challenges the company is facing. In this environment, people are going to ask about your financials. If you are in a startup, these journeys are tumultuous. And if you want the best talent to join the journey with you, share the range, talk about where you are at financially as a company. Don't paint an overly positive picture that gaslights your candidates. If there's a high burnout culture, talk about that. If you suck at DEI, talk about that. And talk about the things that you are doing to make those changes. People want to come to the journey with you, knowing everything that they should know. And finally, at the offer stage, we like to approach the offer by saying, hey, when was the first conversation we asked you, what was the number that would get you to join? Is this still the same? And so if I came back to you with this number, will you accept? Don't do offer letters, do offer packages. Talk about the equity, talk about the amount of money that you are going to be giving to people, because ultimately, when you approach your interview processes with transparency, you will create trust that excites people to join your company. Thank you.
Awesome. Great talk. Thank you, Mee. Next up, we have Natalie. Natalie is a former VP and Director of People at Y7 Studio and Stencil. Recently, she just started on her own as a people and culture consultant. And Natalie will be talking to us today about transparent decision-making. Over to you, Natalie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and excited to continue this great conversation. So transparent decision-making within your organization is key to increasing employees' trust in leadership as a whole, confidence in the decision itself, and ultimately buy-in on whatever you're working towards. If we think about the old operating system, we saw decisions being handed down by leadership and employees just expected to fall in line. If you're here today, I'm guessing that you know that's a way of the past. And so what does transparent decision-making really mean? I'll start with a quick reminder that it's always key to involve diverse points of view in that decision-making process itself. But we're going to focus on transparency after that process. Step one is sharing the why behind the decision you're making. What purpose does it serve the business? What's the impact on your employees? If you don't have those answers, pause, figure those out before moving forward, because it really will save you a lot of time in the long run. But taking it a step further is really walking employees through how you got to that decision. We recently encountered this in OKR planning during my time at Stencil. When we were deciding on the top level OKRs that everything would roll into, we initially made the mistake of only sharing the why. And our managers pointed out that what was really missing was painting a picture of what was happening in that room when the decision was made. What other options did we consider? Why aren't they right for the business at the time? Ultimately, why this decision over others? When we made that change in future rounds of planning and communication, we actually reduced that human nature of creating a different narrative, telling ourselves a story about what happened in that room. And really, that level of detail increased their trust in us as a full leadership team, knowing that we were being thoughtful around what was best for the business. It gave them confidence in the decision itself and ultimately increased buy-in and moving forward. And that's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Natalie. Next up is Ben, Ben Jackson. Ben is a people consultant and founder and principal at culture design firm Hear Me Out. Ben is joining us today to talk about transparent employee feedback. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, everybody. My name is Ben. Today, I'm going to explain how to create space for honest, open feedback about your culture by making the feedback process more transparent. In the wake of global uncertainty and mass layoffs, many employees have fair reason to be skeptical of even the most well-intentioned employers. But when people teams ask for feedback on the culture, employees rarely know what to expect, much less what's in it for them. And that uncertainty makes them much less likely to share honest, open feedback about what's working, what's not, and what they truly need to be successful. Now, most teams skip a critical step before gathering feedback from employees, getting employees informed consent. Whether in a survey or in person, people need to know what data will be collected, who will have access, and for how long, and how exactly it will be used to improve their day-to-day experience at work. For a survey, this can be as simple as a standard privacy policy that you link at the top of the form. But for an in-person check-in, we use a detailed informed consent form. To see how this looks, take a look at the example that I'm linking in the chat right now. Now you'll see a couple details that I think are worth highlighting on this form. So first off, we really take care to explain our goals in simple, brief, accessible language, and to clarify why employees' perspective will help us achieve those goals. We also clarify what type of feedback is and isn't appropriate for the forum. For example, our service isn't for reporting discrimination, harassment, or other misconduct. We also reaffirm employees' rights before they consent. So they have the right to change their mind, the right to withdraw their consent after sharing that feedback, and the right to have all of their questions answered throughout the process. Finally, we allow them to consent to recording, to sharing quotes from those conversations, or both, to account for a wide range of comfort levels. So here's the bottom line. Adding transparency to the employee feedback process helps employees feel safe, opening up about what's working, what's not, and what they truly need to be successful. This kind of open, honest feedback can only benefit your employees. So if you want employees to be upfront with you about how they feel, it helps to be upfront with them first. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ben. That was awesome. Often under talked about topic there. And lastly, wrapping us up here, we have Adrienne Jones. Adrienne is founder and principal at her own L&D consulting firm. Previously, she led L&D several different companies, and she is joining us to talk about transparent onboarding. Over to you, Adrienne.
Thank you so much, Alex. Hello, everyone. I'm Adrienne. I'm here to talk about transparent onboarding. So I want to just set the stage. First of all, what is transparent onboarding and what is it for? So transparent onboarding is for providing new employees with clear information about their new job, their role, and company culture. And why this is important, why it's important to be transparent during the onboarding process is so that for a variety of reasons, but for today's talk, let's focus on how it makes people feel welcome and included and part of that culture that they've joined. I've worked with many different organizations over the years, and unfortunately, many company onboarding programs do set out to be extremely transparent, but unfortunately, they inundate new employees with so much new information that that transparency gets lost. I have an analogy here. It's like getting swallowed up in a ball pit of new information when you're joining the team. So what can we do about this? First of all, let's start by asking ourselves, is our onboarding program representative of the transparent culture we want to create? And then build from there. When we design onboarding programs at my learning and development consultancy, we don't just figure out what we want to communicate to new employees, but we also make a plan for when and how we want to communicate that information. So really considering the journey. Here's 3 things that you can consider as you look at the transparency in your onboarding program. First of all, I would say try to avoid onboarding checklists, solely onboarding checklists. They can be helpful, but when that's the only source of onboarding new people, these can shower new employees with information. And we kind of hope that they'll sort it all out on their own. But the reality of it is, it feels transparent, but it just creates a big sense of overwhelm, that ball pit of information for new employees. Secondly, avoid packing everything into a couple of days or a couple of hours cultural onboarding sessions. I think we've all been to one of these if we worked inside an organization. Oftentimes, these are meant to share more about the company's culture and really sell employees on the wisdom of the company's approach. Again, we're really trying to be transparent here by getting people in a room and giving them all this information, but new hires start to feel like passive receivers. And oftentimes that's not the type of culture that we're trying to build. A culture of inclusion and feedback are usually not connected to a culture of passive receivers of information. And the third one is avoid unstructured job shadowing. So again, this might feel like something we're trying to be transparent when we share new employees how the sausages are made. But new hires don't always know what they don't know. So they lack the ability to ask the right questions or to watch for the right things, which again, doesn't make them feel welcomed, which is our goal of onboarding. So my bottom line today is, in order to have transparent onboarding, you must have an onboarding strategy. Of course, I'm going to say that. I'm a learning experience designer. But it's important because this is where you get to determine not just what you want to communicate to new employees, but also how and when. If you'd like to talk more, I'd love to get in touch. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so glad we got to talk about this important topic.
Thank you, Adrienne. All right, before we go anywhere, thank you to all of our speakers, and thanks to everybody who attended this, what probably feels like a whirlwind event. Really enjoyed having everyone here. And I think, you know, as we talk about a lot of these topics in transparency, I think partly kicked off as, you know, a lot more states and municipalities and countries are thinking about transparent compensation and transparent salary postings, and kind of just thinking a little bit more about how this idea of transparency goes across a lot of different aspects of creating a people-first workplace. And just so glad to have everybody on here. I've learned a few things myself and just really enjoyed the discussion. And lastly, so this was, you know, an event here of the People Ops community. Here at the People Ops community, we've committed to obsessing over the ratio between the time you spend engaging with our spaces and the number of insights you extract. And I want to know if we met that commitment today. So we have actually got a little survey that will drop in the chat. We are offering an Amazon Echo if you want to put in your address and opt into that for somebody who fills out the survey today. I want to hear, you know, did this meet your expectations? You know, what things were most impactful for you? And as well, would love to turn this time back to you. So I know this was an hour-long block here. Hopefully this is a block you were able to create in your day. And I would challenge you to go take some of these insights, summarize them in notes, and see what you can go ahead and use this time to put into action today. So thank you once again. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to everybody that joined. Had a great time. And until next time, this is Alex, and we'll go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everybody.